In the early spring and autumn period, there was a feudal lord who endured a troubled childhood. Upon assuming power, he faced betrayal from his own family, as both his mother and younger brother conspired against him. Despite these challenges, he triumphed over their schemes and adversity, rising to become one of the most formidable leaders of his era. His name was Duke Zhuang of Zheng, a ruler whose keen political insight and strategic patience earned him the title, the rising overlord of the spring and autumn period. The Zheng state had deep ties to the Zhou royal family. Duke Zhuang's grandfather, Duke Huan, was the younger brother of King Huan of Zhou. When the nomadic Rong tribes attacked and overran the Zhou capital, Duke Huan died in battle defending the king. Later, Duke Wu, Duke Zhuang's father, led the armies of Zheng to drive the invaders out, helping King Ping of Zhou relocate the royal court to the east. For his loyalty and military prowess, Duke Wu was appointed one of the Zhou royal ministers, essentially placing him in charge of the kingdom's affairs. This not only rewarded Zheng's contributions, but also reflected King Ping's reliance on Zheng's power. Duke Zhuang, originally named Wusheng, was Duke Wu's eldest son. His birth, however, was a difficult one, almost costing his mother her life. As a result, his mother held a deep grudge against him and favored his younger brother, Duan. She even plotted to have Duan succeed as ruler. However, Duke Wu, following tradition, insisted that Wu Sheng, the eldest, should inherit the throne. After ascending to power, Duke Zhuang continually granted his mother's request to give Duan more land and authority. His brother, meanwhile, quietly expanded his own influence, building his own private army and acting like an independent ruler. Despite this, Duke Zhuang never refused a request. But beneath this outward compliance, he was carefully observing his brother's ambitions. Duke Zhuang had always known that both his mother and Duan harbored plans to overthrow him, but he waited, ensuring that Duan's rebellion would be unmistakable before making his move. He did not want to be accused of fratricide without a just cause. When the time came, Duan, supported by their mother, decided to launch a coup. His army marched from his fiefdom to the capital, with their mother planning to open the city gates from within. But Duke Zhuang had already prepared for this. He allowed his brother to gather strength, waiting for the right moment. Once Duan's intentions were clear, Duke Zhuang swiftly crushed the rebellion. Duan was defeated. Both Duan and their mother are exiled. Though a year later, Duke Zhuang would forgive her after being advised to reconcile. The Western saying, "Whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad," perfectly applies here, as Duke Zhuang allowed Duan's ambition to destroy him before acting decisively. After securing internal stability, Duke Zhuang turned his attention outward. As a royal minister, he exploited his position to rally the power of the Zhou banner, subduing neighboring states either by conquest or forcing them into submission. His influence grew so strong that it began to overshadow the Zhou royal family itself. King Ping of Zhou, heavily dependent on Zheng's military support, found himself in a weakened position. In an effort to secure trust, both Duke Zhuang and the king exchanged hostages, a diplomatic practice meant to ensure mutual respect and alliance. However, this exchange highlighted the king's diminished authority, as the royal family was now treated as an equal to the vassal states, which dealt a serious blow to the dignity of the Zhou dynasty. In 719 BC, King Ping of Zhou died. His grandson, Prince Lin, ascended as King Huan of Zhou. The young King Huan had likely witnessed Duke Zhuang's domination over the royal court from a young age, and he quickly grew distrustful of him. To limit Duke Zhuang's influence, he appointed a low-ranking official as co-prime minister, sharing authority with Duke Zhuang. Duke Zhuang, in turn, saw this as an insult. He retaliated by sending his troops to harvest the royal family's crops, an act that was less about the material gain and more about humiliating the young king. This audacious move was designed to provoke King Huan, carefully testing the limits of his patience and setting the stage for an eventual break with the Zhou house. In 707 BC, King Huan could no longer tolerate Duke Zhuang's arrogance. He stripped Duke Zhuang of his position as royal minister and gathered an alliance of forces from Chen, Kai, and Wei to launch an official campaign against Zheng. Duke Zhuang, however, was ready. He led his army to face the Zhou coalition at the Battle of Xuge. This battle held tremendous symbolic significance for both sides. It wasn't just a fight for territory, but a test of the Zhou royal family's authority. Duke Zhuang's forces easily overwhelmed the royal army, and King Huan himself was wounded in the shoulder by an arrow. Forced to flee in disgrace, the king narrowly avoided death. One of Duke Zhuang's generals wanted to pursue the retreating forces, but Duke Zhuang held him back. Ever the strategist, Duke Zhuang knew that annihilating the royal army would turn him into a common enemy. Instead, he offered a show of restraint. This scene is very similar to how Duke Zhuang patiently waited for his brother to initiate a rebellion before crushing him, a carefully calculated act. Following the battle, Duke Zhuang sent gifts to the defeated King Huan and his allies, apologizing for the injuries caused to the king, and asserting that the conflict was forced upon him by circumstances beyond his control. The Battle of Xuge exposed the severe decline in the Zhou royal house's power. Though King Huan technically remained on the throne, the defeat marked the beginning of the end for the central authority of the Zhou dynasty. The rituals and order once upheld by the kings were now eroding. With Duke Zhuang's rise, the Zhou dynasty entered an era where warlords and regional powers vied for dominance. The era became one of ambition, intrigue, and endless battles, but it also birthed an intellectual revolution, the period known as the 100 Schools of Thought, a golden age for Chinese philosophy and culture. Many iconic cultural figures, such as Confucius and Sun Tzu, emerged during this era. Much like the later Three Kingdoms period, the Spring and Autumn era was one of my favorite times in history. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more.